the Capital Planning Committee. We can start by introducing ourselves. I'm Christy Williams, I'm the town manager. I did, actually, when I was the assistant town manager, ran the capital planning process. But I know for those of you who have been on it for the past few years, you know, Kim Foster, our assistant town manager, was doing it. The intent has been to transition the process to John, our finance director. But he and I have been working pretty closely on this year, and we'll continue to attend together, largely because we're working on a larger long-term capital plan. So we want to make sure that we're communicating to you as you're looking through these requests, how this process might change a little bit.
John Steinberg, I'm the finance director.
Patrick Welch, Assistant Select Board. Jakub Motzka, School Committee.
Marie Sorensen, I'm the town moderator's appointment, one of them.
Andrew Bradley, Advisory Finance Committee.
John Gilson, Planning Board.
Barbara Walls, Treasurer Collector.
Tom Dolan, town moderators.
So again, for those of you who don't know, the charter sets out that we have a capital expenditure or a capital plan. It's a 5-year plan. And then it speaks to how that works. And ultimately this committee reviews these projects and then makes recommendation to me, and then I create the capital plan. We also have a comprehensive fiscal management policy that speaks to the capital planning process. So I have that up here, and I'll send both documents to all of you for those of you who haven't seen it. But you can see here that the Capital Planning Committee considers all of these questions here. These questions have been translated into this evaluation criteria, which again, you've been using if you've been on the committee. And so just wanting to point out, the committee evaluates each project in relation to other projects and determines their relative importance without regard to available funding. So the funding of these projects is something that, once they're recommended, is something that the work that I do with the finance director and Kim to create the capital plan. Essentially, what your role is to review these projects and determine whether or not they're worthy of going on to being on the capital plan, but also asking questions in preparation for our department heads to be prepared for town meeting. So I gave you the criteria. I can send that out also as an email, and we'll do that rating at the end. One thing that I wanted to show everyone that's different from years prior is if you look at this is the packet that I sent out yesterday. It has the detail sheets that have been submitted, same as in the past. But I also added these tables, and what I really wanted to focus on here is one thing that we did this year that's different from what's been done before is our comprehensive fiscal management policy identifies that we should be spending 1 to 1.5% of our budget on capital needs. And so at the bottom here, you can see these are estimates based on what we think the budget will be in fiscal 27 and what 1 to 1.5% is. So 1% is this 1.4 number at the bottom here, and then 1.5% is the 2.1 number. And so what we did this year, which is different from every other year, is that we asked departments in September to give us their capital needs for fiscal 27 all the way through fiscal 41. And we created a schedule based on estimates of what that 1 to 1.5% number is, what some alternative funding might be, to make sure that we're recommending projects to you all that fit within that recommended range. And so what you can see here is that the total that we're recommending, and this again, all the department heads met together, that we're recommending for fiscal 27 is this $11.6 million number, with some offsets from ambulance receipts reserved, enterprise fund retained earning offsets, and then grant funds. And then you can see here that we're recommending that some of these be a borrow. So that those things sit outside of that 1 to 1.5%. And then the anticipated free cash use is that 1.5. So that's within that 1 to 1.5%, which gives us sort of the surplus or available funds of the $630,000 at the bottom there. And so that's different than what we've done before, but we've done that work up front to try to schedule the projects in a way that meets with our fiscal management policies so that the work that you're asked to do is to really determine whether or not these projects are worthy. Because we know that as we're recommending them in the next 5 years, that they fit within our fiscal management policies. So then on the second page here, it's separated out because we're talking about in the first table, we're talking about enterprise funds. So those are enterprise funds that create retained earnings. And as many of you know, the retained earnings are only available for projects under those enterprise funds. So that's separate and distinct from that 1 to 1.5%. And then all new this year, I think, is these other capital projects which are not included in the capital budget. And these are larger projects that really require more approval beyond just this committee. So for example, some of our transportation projects like B-Waltz, the Otis Street Corridor project, and then other projects that we anticipate will have grant funding so that they would only move forward if they obtained that alternative funding. So you can see here the bridge replacement for the Piccadilly Brook Bridge. Normally that would be considered for the capital plan. We actually already received an earmark for that. So it is a capital need, but it's being funded through an alternative funding source. So I don't know if anyone has any questions about what I just presented, but just wanted to walk you through sort of that new piece of the process. Andrew?
So looking at the 15-year capital plan has been a plan in the works for a while. So congratulations on hitting that number. That's great.
Thanks.
The work up until this point had been predicated on making sure we had a comprehensive view of all of the capital spending of this town. And in the past, when the question has been asked, there has always been reluctance to say that I don't know, to give a clear answer as to where we were in the process. I don't mean that pejoratively, but from my point of view, we haven't really been very clear. So could you say how comprehensive you think our capital view is for all of the capital expenses of this town? Police cars to roofs?
Right. So I should start with, if you haven't looked through this yet, you only have the documents for the first 5 years.
Okay.
That longer term capital plan is going to be presented at a later time because we want to synthesize the information, make it digestible and with a narrative type document that we can share that's easier than just a giant spreadsheet, essentially. Yeah. I do feel pretty comfortable that we have captured what everyone has on the horizon in terms of what their capital needs are. So we have school roofs, we have cruisers, all of those things. So I think you will see that throughout the 5 years and then further to fiscal 41.
Thank you.
Yep.
Chrissy, I'll just ask a question. You got on such a nice roll going through the information. I appreciate that. In the agenda you mentioned, I think you had on the agenda voting in a chair. Did you?
Yeah, I just wanted to explain.
Okay, I didn't know if you just went further. Okay, thank you.
So if there's no other questions, there should be, you do need to vote a chair and then we'll start with the presentations.
Who didn't even need to be chair?
I was chair emeritus. I was their chair like last year, 2 years ago. I forget. It was such a good time.
Ian was last year.
Then I would have been before.
2 years.
I wouldn't want to take it all. So that'd just be rude.
How about our two moderator delegate designees? Any interest?
Not yet.
I'll pass for now unless the buck stops.
Thanks for offering.
You haven't been chair yet, have you?
Of the select board, yes, but not of this. This is my first year on this committee. But
There we go.
Well, so who hasn't been? Who's been on this committee? Who hasn't been on this committee? Who's this is the first year? Anybody? Or am I the only first year? So your first year?
This is my second year.
Second year. Okay.
Yeah.
First year.
This is my second.
Third.
So I'm the new guy. Okay.
And you did ask the question, so
I'm not looking for more.
You've had experience.
from the rule of smelt it and dealt it, I think you are.
So everybody's opposed. Like nobody's got any interest.
It's only,
A couple meetings, right?
yeah, it's
So
only
three
maybe 4 or
meetings?
5 meetings and
Yeah.
we do all the
I wouldn't mind doing it, but I don't think it's a good look for the chair to leave early for meetings, so.
I'm happy to step forward again if people didn't think I ran this into the ground 2 years ago, apparently. All right. I like it.
I like to.
All right, I nominate Andrew.
What was the cockles of my heart?
I second the.
All in favor?
It's the chair who's gonna put their hands up. Okay.
Perfect.
Great.
Congratulations.
Mr. Bradley.
Thank you.
Andrew, I don't know if you want to go to just discussing the schedule. So since I know John has to leave early, I'm going to jump to that first.
Sure, but I don't have any. I'm still not getting in.
That's okay. We just need to, this is the only meeting that we had set, and we want to set the next couple of meetings. So
Okay.
I don't know if, I know we usually try to meet, I don't know if this time works for everybody, like 5 or 5:30. I know we used to try to meet on Mondays or Thursdays before Finance Committee, but Wednesday seemed to work, though I know school committee would conflict.
And I'll have conflicts every other Wednesday as well.
Okay, so that probably doesn't work as well.
Mondays work.
And I'll have conflicts once a month, Wednesdays with Sustainable Westborough. So.
Do Mondays at 5 work for people?
I can't make Mondays or Thursday evenings.
This coming Monday? Or just in general?
Just in general, yeah. What about,
What Tuesday? No one said anything with Tuesday.
Tuesdays, we're gonna have planning board meetings.
And select board. And they usually alternate.
what time works though? Does 5 o'clock work?
Could we do every other Wednesday?
I think that Yakub and John probably have conflicting.
Yeah.
Every other one.
Yeah, so you don't have school committee this weekend?
On Wednesdays, yeah.
This week? Yeah, next week I have
Yeah.
a meeting tonight. So I have to leave early.
Does first thing in the morning work for people?
I can do it after, so I've got to take my son to Armstrong, so I can do it after Armstrong drop off at 8:35. So I can do it at like 9.
That works with me.
I could do that one.
Well, I'm afraid I have the jobs to go to. So. I'm sure everybody else has jobs to go to, but I'm at the low end of my totem pole. Not negotiable spot here.
We'd start earlier on Wednesday evening.
Earlier Wednesday would work.
What time does school committee start?
Start 6:30.
I mean, we could do, if you could do it kind of every Wednesday, we could do 5 o'clock. Does 5 o'clock work for people? Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I won't be here next week. So,
Okay.
so if you want to meet without me, that's fine at any time, I guess.
It sounds like 5 o'clock on Wednesday is the winner, because you said Mondays and Thursdays don't work for you.
No, I apologize.
So if we do 5 o'clock on the 19th. And John, you have to leave by 6:30.
6:45.
All right.
Yeah.
And then the 3rd. And I guess the 10th. The budget has to be done by the 21st, so that gives us 3 more meetings.
So give me those dates again.
So can I get one more? Is the 3rd, the 10th, and the 19th?
11,
Assuming people-
19, and the December 3rd and 10th. That's right.
December 3rd and 10th,
Yeah.
November 19th.
With a budget due by the 21st?
Yeah. What about Tuesday, the 25th? Does that work for people, November 25th?
That definitely works for me.
What,
I'm good with that.
night before Thanksgiving?
5:45.
2 nights before Thanksgiving.
Oh, sorry, I thought you said Wednesday. So
Yeah, that works for me.
I should be able to do it.
What time?
5
I could do
o'clock?
5:45.
45?
On the 25th?
So we just keep it around 6, or should we be here at 5:30 and some people will be a couple of minutes late?
Yeah, let's do 6, I guess. All right, so Wednesday the 19th at 5, Tuesday the 25th at 6, Wednesday December 3rd at 5, and Wednesday December 10th at 5.
And the target is December 21st of
Well,
finals.
I need it. Wait, I need it.
Yeah,
We
we
need
should
to be
have a-
done. We need to be done on the 10th. That needs to be our last meeting when we're done. So we're gonna have to do rate your ratings will probably need to be due by the 8th.
And sometime between the 10th and the 21st is when we'd find sourcing for this, because that would be part of the budget, right? So what we're going to do is vote the slate of the projects we recommend, and then between the 10th and the 21st, you'd be working to find sources of financing for that, right?
Right. So I do that, and
Yeah.
then it becomes the budget. But you also new this year. You can see it. What I would be recommending it if we move forward with these projects.
Yeah, and just in the past, we've gotten a heads up for that before the shared, so before the budget, right?
I don't know. So it came back to you
I just remember, maybe this is my failing memory, one great reason you want to vote for me as a leader. Well, I seem to recall that at some point we got a heads up, and maybe it was with the budget coming out, or maybe it was something else.
Okay, because
But-
the capital planning committee is required to receive the budget by the 21st also.
Okay.
So it might have been that. If you remember something different, then we can certainly adjust.
Only that I just remember seeing the projects next to the funding sources, like together.
So you'll have that for the 10th. Yeah, you'll have to have that for the 10th.
Oh, that
so you
will be
can,
for the 10th, okay.
So you can just look at it. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Makes sense.
Okay, great. All right. So we have John here. Is going to present one of the. So we have IT, finance, and town clerk tonight. We are not going to meet with recreation tonight. So we have John, and then I can grab the town clerk and the IT director. I don't know if you're presenting.
No, I'm just putting-
19th,
The 19th.
25th,
Yeah.
and December 3rd, 10th.
So while John's pulling it up, the only request from the finance department for capital is in fiscal 27, and that's the update to the chart of accounts.
Yeah, so our chart of accounts is the original that grew as Leah built the Munis system. And so since then, the state has normalized, and DESI from the schools has established a chart of accounts that's set up a little differently. And so DESI has been pushing the schools, and it's other people have mentioned to us from the state as we've gone through our state review that we should really evaluate normalizing our chart of accounts to be in compliance with the other parties. To give you an idea what that is, all of our accounts have an object, and a fund. They are set up in a certain sequence and have a certain number of characters. DESI has it in a much longer version, and in the past, the school has essentially taken what we have, converted it to what they need in order to submit their reports. It's our goal to work with them. This would be the town side, the school will be their side. We'll work together and make it all one big happy chart of accounts. And that should cover us. It's a one-time thing. Shouldn't need to be done again as long as my career is here. Happy to answer any questions.
Yeah, and I'll apologize because I can't see what was this, but what's the amount? It's 2027 fiscal 2027,
Yes.
75,000.
75,000.
75,000, and how do we describe what that 75,000 is? Is it the rights to the data? Is it
No, it's actually,
programming?
we would be bringing in a consultant
Okay.
who would do a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of the conversion and the crosswalk that would put it in the proper formatting. And then they would actually work with us and Munis, our software provider that we work with, to then convert what we currently have into what the new chart is and make sure all the numbers go in the right place. So a consultant basically is the answer to the question.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
And that 75 will be beginning to end of the project, one fiscal year. It should all be able to
Yes.
be doable. Okay, thank you.
Hopefully in a matter of months, not a full year.
Will there be any software purchase?
There shouldn't be, no.
Okay.
No, Munis is our financial software that we use on both sides of the street. We use it for all our town finances, paying bills, payroll, all sorts of accounts payable. And so it'll go right into the existing modules that we have there. It really just replaces the type of account structure that we have now.
So the long-term benefit of this is reduced labor in the future?
It's reduced labor, better tracking, better conformity with the accounting standards. Our auditors as well. It'll facilitate our communication with them and hopefully just reduce the amount of work on all of that. So.
John, you mentioned that this would bring us into compliance. Are we currently not in compliance?
It's not that we're not in compliance, it's that we're not up to date. We are in compliance in the way we parse our accounts. So we're not blending or mixing in any way, shape, or form. It's just the formatting, really, the structure of the chart.
So this is a conversion of one data set to match a standard of another data
Correct.
set.
If you could imagine, we are 128 characters, and it really needs to be 256 characters.
Okay.
And all the characters need to have there isn't really 256, but they all need to be in their certain order and sequence, so that if you take, for example, to a real estate example, and the Pulte development, the addresses for each condo relates to the location of the unit. So if it's building 1, it's 1, floor 4, unit 2 on that floor. So it's 1402.
Gotcha.
So it just would tell everyone by looking at that account what exactly that is. And there is a standardized numeric assignment for what things are assigned with numbers. And so, for example, finance department would go in a certain way. Schools, certain expenses would fall under certain numbers. And so we'll create that uniformity.
And, I mean, based on what you've described, I think the answer to this is no, but I just want to make sure I got it. There isn't any expectation of a year-over-year expenses, meaning that this could result in a structural deficit because we're using free cash to pay for this instead of.
No.
So it's not a year-over-year
No,
type of
this
thing.
is a
It's a
non-budgetary.
one and done.
Yeah.
It's one and done. Okay, thank you.
Typically, if folks are identifying annual operating costs, then those would be budget requests or program improvement forms rather than a capital request.
That's all I got. Thank you.
Gonna have more.
Debbie and Mark also.
Are you guys both ready to present? Debbie, I think you were the first on the agenda.
So Debbie also has just the one request, which is fiscal 27 election equipment.
Good evening. I'm here to talk to you about the replacement of election equipment. Election equipment has two components. We have the scanner tabulators. Those are the machines that sit at every precinct during an election. They run the ballots and they hold our election coding. And we also have the polling pads. Those are what we use for check-in and check-out at the elections. We also use them for early voting, and we use them for town meetings. Those are used to check in our voters, and it also keeps track of numbers of people that have voted, voter history. It gets loaded into the voter registration system, and it stays with the voter forever. So just a little background on our equipment. In 2014, we purchased 5 DS200 scanners. In 2016, Wendy Mickle, the former town clerk, purchased 3 additional scanners. The purpose of those was to run central tabulation facility and to have a backup scanner. In 2020, after the federal census, we had a 6th precinct added. So currently our total inventory of scanners is at 9. And then we have the poll pads. In 2018, the town purchased 5 poll pads. In 2020, we purchased an additional 7 poll pads. The addition of those 7 poll pads was to support our 6th precinct that came online. And it was also to put 6 poll pads at checkout. So our paper lists went away and everything would be done electronically. In 2022, with the increase of early voting, we added 2 additional poll pads to support all the early voting hours that we have at Town Hall. And like I said earlier, all these poll pads also work at our town meetings, the annual and the fall town meetings, to check in voters for those events. So our total poll pad inventory is 14. So why are you seeing this capital expenditures request now? As the chief election officer, it is my duty to oversee all aspects of our local, state, and our federal elections, and this includes our election equipment. The DS200 scanners, they have a minimum life expectancy of 10 years. We do have them under contract. We do maintain them. That being said, they've, in fiscal year 27, would have seen 32 elections, and each election they get transported to the high school, and they've had a lot of wear and tear. 5 of the DS200s will be 13 years old. 3 will be 11 years old, and 1 will be 6 years old, the newest one in Precinct 6. So in fiscal year 27, I'm recommending that the town replace the 5 oldest scanners and also the newer scanner that's in Precinct 6. And the reason I say that is the state is in the process of approving DS300 scanners. And I think we should have the current technology, and I believe all 6 precincts should have it, and it should be consistent. With the new DS300s, I just want to tell you it provides for faster processing, more accuracy when it comes to discriminating between votes, and improved stability for the transportation between Town Hall and the high school, and most important, enhanced security. The locks will be pick resistant, tamper evident seals, locked cases. It detects unauthorized access to critical data, safeguards, and a secure boot to prevent invalid, corrupt, or malicious software from running on any of the tabulators. I do plan for that newer DS200 that we have in Precinct 6. That'll go over to central tabulating. With the number of ballots that we have coming in by mail now, I expect we're going to be over 4,000, and it becomes increasingly harder to run ballots during an election, along with the people that vote during the day. So I anticipate central tabulation will be used going forward. Like I said, that 6th precinct, the newer tabulator will be part of that central tabulation. As far as our poll pads, they are Apple iPads. They need to be updated every 5 years. In addition to that, they all have printers, and they all have batteries. So, and they're all on, like I stated earlier, different schedules as far as when the town brought them online. So it's very hard to manage between the generational upgrades and the equipment that goes along with them. So I'm proposing at the same time, we bring all of our poll pads up to date, and then going forward from there, we'll rotate the newer ones into early voting poll pads. So in 2025, the replacement of the DS200, the tabulator scanners, are $7,000 each. The poll pads, including the battery bases and the printers, are $1,800 each. I checked in to get information on the trade-in of any equipment. DS200 scanners only have a trade-in value of $200. The poll pads have no trade-in value. What we could do, in addition to rotating them into the early voting / town meeting poll pads, is we could possibly donate them to other town departments, such as the senior center or the library. They would be wiped clean. It could be used by another department. As far as, next steps, the reason I'm kind of picking the timeline that I did is we have a break in elections between April 2027 and March 2028. This break is followed by a presidential primary and a state primary and a presidential election in 2028. Before we can put any equipment online that's new, the state has to come out, test it and they have to approve it. So there's a lead time to get the state out before we can even use any new equipment. And the election workers will have to be trained on the new equipment, especially our chief warden, the wardens, the clerks, and obviously the ballot box clerks. So that's really all I have to say. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have, or I'm always happy if you want to reach out to me or speak to me. I'm always happy to meet with any of you.
Thank
No,
you,
it-
Deb. Sam, do you have any
Welcome.
questions?
Sure, I just got. Sure, thank you. Have it very thorough. I guess my question is just specifically, does the cost that you're communicating here include maintenance or warranty on these as well, or is that not applicable? Or
So the
something.
maintenance will continue on the new equipment. Any equipment that we have that's left over, the DS200s, we'll keep those under maintenance contracts also.
okay, but there's no cost on a warranty or maintenance program to maintain these by your reseller, so to speak, whoever you're purchasing them from.
So well, if we continue with ES&S, which there are very few vendors,
Okay.
there is a cost per year to maintain the equipment. They come out every year usually after our town meeting or the spring elections, and they do a total sweep of our equipment. So we will continue to keep
That's
that
part of-
maintenance.
so that's part of this
It helps
cost?
the longevity of the
Okay.
equipment.
It's not-
That's not, so that's an operational cost. So that
Okay.
would be part of the budget.
Okay, so we'd see that
Yeah,
show up
things
in the
like
budget.
batteries and the
Already-
equipment.
Yeah.
things
It's already
go-
there.
We have an existing contract.
Okay,
We'll continue with that contract and it will adjust as the vendor.
okay. And does that get updated when the purchase of new equipment, or is that a standalone cycle on that contract?
The annual contract?
We do annual payments to the election company
Okay.
every year, but the new equipment will come with a contract.
Okay, thank you.
I have one question. Hi, Debbie.
Sure.
Are the old scanners going to trash, or is there something that can be done with them?
There's really, other than, keep them from our central tabulation facility, there's really no reason for us to keep more than, 3 additional would all that I would ever want, 2 for central tab and 1 for a backup computer if needed. Thank goodness we haven't needed to use a backup tabulator since I started. In the event that we were to need one, it's nice to have them, and certainly central tabulation, that's going to be important to have, 2 that we will maintain. The election company will take away as part of the cost the other 5. Yeah,
All right, thank you.
you're welcome.
Any other questions? So the 6,300 will be a full slate of, 63,000 will be a full slate of replacing all of the equipment that we're talking about?
It's going to be everything except for the upper 2 poll pads 13 and 14.
Right.
Okay.
Because those are much newer. We just purchased those in 2022, so they're still in the first generation. But it would replace all the other ones.
So how would this work as we go forward? Would it be a chunking plan every 5 years to just full
Yeah.
clean sweep?
Yes.
And that's partly because we have to bring the state out here to look at everything. So if we did like half of them every year or every couple of years, that would be problematic because they had to be coming back all the time.
So really the state, it's more so managing the generations of the poll pads and also the poll pads carrying battery bases
Okay.
and the printing equipment. You've got generations coming due, each fiscal year, and it just becomes, right now it's kind of a mashup of what's getting updated, what we have, what's coming next. And I just think it's important to have all our equipment and all 6 precincts and our scanners to be matching and to keep updating them and keeping them consistent.
So so Debbie and I, so as I said, we asked for the long term also. So the poll pads have a useful life of about 5 years. So for FY32, which is
Right.
beyond this 5 years, there's another capital request to replace the poll pads, and then 5 years later, replace the poll pads again, as well as the scanners, because those are a useful life of 10 years. So fiscal 32 and 37, you would see additional capital requests for election equipment.
Thank you. And if you could also help me explain how the early elections required additional poll pads, because we still have people who are, I mean, you still have the other poll pads that you could use, right? Or
We have other poll pads that we can use, but you're having early voting hours now that are sliding into election day polling. So we could, I suppose, take polling pads offline, but then it just becomes, you need to go through 2 weeks of early voting, which includes weekends for the general election, presidential elections, 1 week before all the primaries. And when early voting ends on Friday, we need to run extracts, and we would have to reach out to the companies, and we need to reload all the poll pads. And same thing for scanners with the election that's going to start on Tuesday. And it just, when you have equipment that's separate and it's targeted towards specific tasks, like early voting, you're always testing the early voting, you're always loading the early voting lists. Everything is kept separate. It's all downloaded into the dashboard on my computer, which tracks the early voting separate, election day. Same thing with special town meetings and annual town meetings.
and so each of the 14 poll pads we have right now includes 14 printers.
Yes. Yep. The early voting printers are for stickers, which go
Okay.
on the ballots. A little different from our election day printers are all tapes.
Okay.
So slightly different printers go with the early voting.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions? Deb, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Thank you for
Thank you for
presenting.
having me in.
Mark, you ready to chat?
So this is going to be for 2 capital articles, both for AV, the AV upgrade in this room, Memorial Hall, and the AV upgrade for the fire department. So I'll go through one, ask for questions, and then go through the other. So the AV equipment in this room is 10 years old. It's no longer supported. In recent years, we've had a lot of repairs, which have resulted in limited functionality and downtime, sometimes for extended periods. The recommendation from our AV service provider is to replace everything except for the speakers. Additionally, some functionality has not been fully restored, and there's a need for improvements which were not included with the original installation. The room supports a lot of board and committee meetings and special events and training. Reasons to upgrade. The equipment is end of life, no longer supported. Restore the limited functionality with the podium display and the program audio. And actually,
Yep.
so normally that should come on when you go over there. We've got a little bit of a manual process going on. It's not a big deal, but it's something that would be restored with the newer installation. Recommended improvements. The ADA required assisted listening capabilities, hybrid meeting enhancements, extra controller in the Westborough TV booth, and then individual microphone controls. So for Westborough TV would have control over each microphone. I believe they have something that effectively does that, but it's kind of rigged, and I don't know how robust that is. But we would want to put that into the town side so that they had so they didn't have to go through their board to do it. Benefits of the upgrade, better AV experience for meetings, improved reliability with new equipment, includes the mandated ADA assisted listening, enhanced hybrid meeting capabilities, and better AV control for Westborough TV. The budget is $200,000. That's the capital request. Would include design, the equipment, installation, programming, testing, and so forth. We currently don't have annual support on AV equipment. If it's a small repair, we can do it. If it's not, it's, we go to the finance committee. And that's it. Questions?
Awesome. That's good for a question. Anybody else?
So John,
I have a question. It's not necessarily related to this room, but and is this on? The AV system in Forbes building seems like it's way worse than it is here. Is there why is this first and that one's not being replaced? I mean, you can't hear anything. It's echoey. There's no baffles. The on table screens never work. So we're all turning around and looking. And I know school committee has meetings there. Planning board has meetings there. No, you moved here because it was so bad?
Well, yeah, but
You might have to do that too.
actually, I've heard a lot of complaints from the audience in this room that they came here us talking.
Okay.
So we know about a lot of the problems. We're trying to get a little extra mileage out of that. This is the older equipment that's no longer supported. That at least, if something happened, we could get it repaired. As interesting as that sounds.
Didn't realize that was newer than. Yeah. All right.
yeah, to touch on that, I mean, this room certainly has had a lot of problems as well, but I would say over the last 6 months, I don't know what was done, but it's gotten considerably better. The select board meetings in here, I mean, regularly you could never hear the person speaking, even here to there. It was awful, and certainly the audience never could hear them. It doesn't have the echo and those issues, and we don't have the monitors here, which are sporadic over there as well. So I guess I'm just reporting to you that whatever happened in this room in the last 6 months or so, it has been an improvement. I'm supportive of this because we do regularly on the select board side get comments from people, either whether it's during a meeting or after a meeting, about being able to hear. The ADA piece of this, I hadn't thought of that. That's a great idea. I don't know if it also includes the ability to have live captioning. Might be something to look into, because I think that is.
I think that Westborough TV has that part covered.
Okay, because live captioning in here, up on the screen for somebody who can.
I see
I'm
what
saying,
you're saying.
somebody sitting in here could actually read it. As it's being spoken to is pretty would be pretty powerful. I am a little surprised at the price tag. I would also just hope that while you said this current speakers will be retained, I would hope that perhaps there's an opportunity to expand the speakers so further back into the audience, more people can hear. Yeah, I will say I was on a recent trip to the Vatican, and I saw in St. Peter's Basilica they had the exact same speakers they have over in Great Hall. So I was like, wow, I guess we got pretty good stuff.
I guess we're doing good.
Yeah, the Bose tall ones there. So, but yeah, I'm very supportive of this. I was just a little surprised at that price tag. So, but I'm glad to see it move forward.
Yeah, the speakers are probably similar because they're both old buildings, and it was going to be difficult to put speakers into the ceiling. If you look at the Great Hall,
I guess if I heard you correctly, you're talking about using existing wiring, so there shouldn't be any, construction work, or is this anticipating any sort of wall, ceiling?
Most of the wiring should be reusable, if not all. Okay. I don't know. We'll see. It's going to be a competitive process. We'll use the state contract, but we'll get multiple quotes. So they could say, you know what, we need a display here. I don't know.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Yep.
Could you comment on what specific hardware and software is intended to be purchased?
Everything except the speakers. So there's an AV rack in there. Everything in that rack would be replaced. I don't know all the components, amplifiers, the presentation switch, the mic splitters. I mean, there's a long list. I think with a room like this, which has a complicated, you have multiple inputs, multiple outputs. You've got all these microphones, all these speakers. This is kind of this is beyond what we do. I mean, for some of the smaller ones, the IT department will go in there. It's one projector, no audio system, no microphones. Easy for us to fix. This is a lot bigger.
So the speaker, these microphones, the projectors would be included, the screens.
So the microphones are Westborough TV.
I see. The projectors
The projectors, yep,
would be included.
correct.
Okay.
Thank you for the presentation. I'm same as Patrick. I'm in support of this and surprised by the price tag. I have a few questions. Could you explain a little bit more what would the ADA adjustments entail?
Okay, so that would be like a listening device. So if someone needed, a listening aid for the meeting because they couldn't hear the speakers. I mean, currently we have them over across the street. They're actually a device and it has a little earpiece and it's tied into the system. I think the technology has moved along and so that it's possible for people to use their phones, probably an app. Or a device that we hand out. And so it should be better than what we have currently across the street.
Thank you. And could you also speak to the hybrid meeting support? I'm very curious about that because that would be, I think, if you could facilitate hybrid presence of some members during the committee meetings, that would be really helpful.
Okay, so I'm not sure about all the details about the hybrid enhancements. But essentially, it would enable people to come into this meeting hall and set up a hybrid meeting without Westborough TV. Right now, Westborough TV does all the hybrid meetings, at least to the level, the high quality that you would expect for a broadcast. Where you seamlessly, you can see what's being projected. You can, if they're projecting who's participating. Audio, stuff like that. It's all integrated. It's a little more difficult when they're not here. So this would take care of that.
Thank you. And the last question, what would be the timeline of this project if it was approved?
I don't know what the lead time is, but I would think a few months.
The funding is available immediately if it's free cash. So it could potentially even, if it's a few months, it could potentially be early summer.
That probably would be the best time, right?
Yeah, it would. Yeah, probably over the summer, and by the fall we'd be off to the races. And I've heard the comments a few times about the 200,000. I don't expect it to come in. Like I said, it's going to be a competitive process. It should come in under that, and anything that doesn't get spent would go back to free cash.
Thank you.
In that case, wouldn't we be prudent to publish the value of it in town meeting as less than $200,000 so the bidders don't read the town meeting minutes and bid $200,000?
Unfortunately, that's
Okay, I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
So to do the design work costs money. None of they, or at least our service provider, would not provide. This is the budgetary estimate that we got from our service provider. They were not willing to do the design work unless we guaranteed that they would get the job. Now, that being said, they're still going to have to go and do some of the work when they competitively bid for it or, put in a quote. So a little bit of a catch-22. I'm not sure how I'll get a...
Unfortunately, that's one of the sort of downsides of procurement laws and the way municipal government works. So we have a budgetary estimate. You often can't, this far out, you can't go out to RFP because bidders won't hold their bid for that many months. Some of the larger projects, like building projects, we have the option to go out to bid right ahead of town meeting so that we're giving an exact number to town meeting. But it's unfortunately, it's common and fully public when these amounts get approved.
Can I just ask a clarification, Christy? If let's say a slightly lower number were published, given that several members have responded to the amount. What happens if the bids all came in higher?
We wouldn't, I mean, depending on how much, if it's only a few $1,000s, we might be able to, I mean, ultimately our options are to go to the advisory finance committee and ask for some sort of transfer, or to hold the project until a future town meeting. Obviously, if it's a very low amount of money, potentially you could get it out of budget, but our budgets are such that, you know, you can't pool them. So Mark budget's pretty close to the penny of what he needs. So
Yeah, no, I'd probably have to go back to town meeting and say that this wasn't possible.
If I could just add, one other way to look at that as well is that those that bid on it know what money's available, but they don't know what other bidders are going to bid. And so they say, okay, well, that's the max, right? And so I need to be under that in order to be competitive if I want to do this job. And they know that that's all the money that's available. I mean, they can't, you know, that's it.
And the state contract for the AV is going to mandate that we get multiple quotes. That's part of the state contract.
Yeah, just two questions that came up as other questions were provided. Just thoughts. One is, I know that staff has sometimes has a hard time with this displays on the wall that control the system. Is that in scope as well? Is that
Yeah, everything but the speakers. Yeah, that would be included as well.
Okay. All right. I don't envy them when they go over there and they're pushing 30 buttons to get things to work. So
Agreed.
the other thing was just a general comment. This is the first time I had heard that there was ADA hearing devices over in the Forbes building room. I'm unaware of, but certainly if I'm not aware of it, if there's any signage that could be provided even before this, and this is a year and a half away, could be provided, I would look for that.
We actually had them at the budget summit, and we put up a sign, and people
wasn't there, so.
and people could sign in.
Okay.
That was the first meeting where we made them available, because they had to be tested. And but I know that no one took them at the budget summit, but I know that the planning board has had meetings where folks have used them.
Good.
Yeah,
So it's individual to the meeting that's happening, but I know planning board, because they're continuing to meet, are planning to have them available.
Is there
at the
signage,
meetings.
or is it just something we tell people?
We asked her, I know that we had a sign, and I think we had chatted to her about having that as people walk in, and then we want people to sign them out.
Okay.
Yeah, we had an announcement at the beginning of the
Okay.
meeting too.
Okay. Great.
So did anybody use them? Did you get any feedback? Are they working well?
I believe one
I
person.
don't know how many people use them, and
Yeah.
I didn't get any feedback. I wasn't in charge of that though.
Yeah. So they came with the system, but that was also right before the pandemic, and so they ended up kind of just sitting there and never got pulled out. And then somebody had requested it, so that was sort of why they're available now.
Great to hear they're being used now.
So I had a couple of quick questions. When I heard about the new features that are coming online, the opportunity, what is the training plan for that look like? Because having the features and being able to use them are wildly different things. So
That's a good question. You mean for the hybrid meeting?
whether it's hybrid or documentation for any of these new features that are coming online, like the new keypads, the management of the rack.
Well, there will definitely be training. I mean, in a lot of cases, they'll train us, and then we'll train other people.
Okay. So I guess
Train the trainer kind of thing.
and what prompted part of the follow-up is the idea that having documentation that people could even access these things, it'd be helpful to know if people could know who used this room, where they could go to get answers to questions about any of the new panels, the new buttons.
No, that's a good point. I'm making notes. So
Thank you.
I think
No, please.
documentation would be a good idea that people could, because we get requests all the time.
Yeah.
Oh, can you show me how to use the room? Because people, come here and they don't know. I mean, a lot of them will go and just try and, they don't know it's a drag, and they'll just sit there and push buttons all day. So I think documentation would be a great idea.
I appreciate that thought. And going on maybe 4 or 5 years, every time you mention the word rack, I talk about virtualization, or I ask you about virtualization. What are the opportunities to reduce hardware footprints and go online or wireless for some of the things that we're possibly talking about here?
For AV, I don't know.
Okay.
I think the AV uses a lot more power. So I'm guessing, especially with the audio, I can't see how some of that would go into the cloud, but yeah, I don't know.
Okay. I suspect there's servers or something underlying that as well, and those sorts of things to some extent maybe.
The presentation switch is kind of the brains of the
Okay.
AV operation. I suppose that if anything could go to the cloud, maybe that.
Okay, thank you, Mark. And the last question I had was, when you're looking at anything this robust, you have to imagine that there's features that you can opt in for and features you opt out of so you can come to whatever the final deliverable you want is. You know, whether it's additional special features that you chose not to include, or ones that you did include, like the AV, like the remote meetings and stuff like that. Could you talk about any variability in terms of the setup that you went through in terms of thinking about what options were available before you came to what you decided to produce?
So what it's a complete refresh of what we already have, plus the enhancements that we talked about. I don't know if there'll be opportunities for optional items. With a lot of other things, we sometimes have to value engineer, to get to a reasonable cost. And in this case, we want to make sure we have everything that we need. So it'll probably be spec'd out to include everything that we need in this room.
Okay, so this is the valued engineered result then, what we're talking about. the
Essentially, if they had their way, we could go much further beyond this.
We could go, or?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, we could.
Oh, we could go up. Because I'm going
Oh, yeah.
further down. You're talking about going further up.
Oh no, we could go further up.
Oh, okay.
So I'm sure we could go down. I mean, we could limit inputs and outputs. We could knock out a projector, knock out locations. I mean, we could make this room very simple and bring the cost down. The feedback I have received is that's not what.
So I guess that if somebody to hear a $200,000 AV system, people may be thinking about the Cadillac we're buying. But if this is the value engineered value, it's just maybe an opportunity to learn all the different parts of it that we're having to pay for to be able to meet the bare minimum need. And I think that's a communication conversation. Because the perception would be at $200,000, we're getting something, more elaborate.
So you're saying a cost breakdown, an approximate cost breakdown might be helpful.
I think it's just as important to say that this is the bare minimum of what we need to meet the existing requirements. I mean, the fact that there aren't, additional features that we've paid for to get to that $200,000, because the moment people think that there are, they'll think there's things that people can remove, but they're not. 2 projectors.
Yeah, if we want to replace everything and then the enhancements that were listed, we could take out the hybrid meeting piece, and that probably would save a good chunk. We could take out the extra controller in there. We could take out the mic controls. Those are those.
Yep.
Probably the only requirement beyond what we have is the ADA listening.
Well, if the hybrid meeting piece is a big chunk, I'd be curious to know what the loss of that would be. And I know what the functionality loss would be, but how many meetings, how many groups would be at risk of that? And I don't know that that's an answer we can come to.
It's a little bit difficult too, because currently the ability to meet in hybrid and remote is still a COVID executive order, and but there is a bill in the state to make that permanent. And so in terms of understanding what that might look like sort of going forward, we'd be watching that bill as well.
I guess you're making me think here a little, Andrew. If I understand you correctly, you're kind of curious as to like what are the levels of components, I'll call it, that could be included in this proposal, as well as above and beyond it. So that to me doesn't happen until they go out to bid, because they could have 3, 4, 5, 10 bidders come out and have different packages. They say, hey, our hybrid functionality and our offer is this much money. And another bidder might say, hey, we're going to give that to you for a discount in ours, and therefore the price could be vastly different between those two bidders. I think under that scenario, it's a little difficult to kind of pinpoint it to the degree I think you're asking for, if I'm hearing you correctly.
I guess I'm not going for a pinpoint, only to make sure we have a conversation that this $200,000 is meeting basic needs plus the additional features.
Yeah.
Although the gears spinning now is like, what does a chunk of change account for that would deliver the value for hybrid meeting functionality? And for that matter, would we need it now? I know the bill you're talking about. If that bill languishes for 3 more years, could we get this hybrid functionality later? I don't know.
Yeah, so I guess I should clarify too that, so the current hybrid as it exists is
Yep.
something that might not be permanent. The select board already had available to other committees the ability to have a couple people meet or participate remotely. So we do have a policy that allows for that with other committees, which I guess would also be hybrid, just not, we didn't use it that often, I guess, is the point before COVID. The other thing that we take advantage of with the select board often, and maybe others as well, is our presenters being able to participate remotely, which just wouldn't require that legislation. So I think it will be an ongoing need, whether or not, the level stays the same. I don't know.
Yes, but it's the payment here that we're talking about. And again, I don't know what the chunk is. If it's 5,000, that's not really a chunk in 200. But if it's 30,000, maybe it is. But the need is an incremental need, because we have hybrid meetings today of a sort. We have multiple groups that are already, and yes, it's currently going through Westborough TV. So this new chunk of cost that we're talking about is not technically for hybrid meeting. It's for expanded functionality for hybrid meetings that we don't currently have. So
It would allow groups that to have hybrid meetings, or to have all the tools for a hybrid meeting that you would have with Westborough TV without Westborough TV. But additionally, it'll allow Westborough TV to have additional enhancements as well when they do the hybrid meeting. So when you were talking about the cost breakdown, I might not, I mean, I think they made good points about, I couldn't get a precise cost, but I could probably get some percentages of, okay, the enhancement is 10% of the project, so that I'll try to track that down.
that'd be great. That'd be helpful for me, and especially the hybrid conversation, because I, for one, am not sold on it, but I'm just one, and I think people want to know what they're getting for that portion of the cost.
Yeah, agreed.
Essentially. So thank you.
I think, Andrew, if I could just add one thing.
Yeah.
Is that to bear in mind, without the help of Westborough TV, there are a lot of smaller groups that meet and want to do hybrid that may have someone presenting or may have some other situation and can't because they don't have access to Westborough TV in the same sense.
Totally
So just to
understand
put that relative to
totally
perspective.
understand that, but that need has existed now and in years past, and yet we've managed to make it through as a town without the cost of this investment to support that. Is it nice? Yes. To me, this seems like a nice to have, but I guess there's still a conversation about how many people might leverage this. Is it 3 meetings a year? Is it 30 meetings a year? Those are different ways to cost out the relative value of this feature.
Certainly something I think we should understand, but I would say that, yes, while we have been able to make do over the years, you're absolutely right on that. My perception is that it has, on occasions, delayed the ability for remote presenters to be part of the conversation, which then further delays, obviously, decisions and proposals and whatnot that need to be made. So there is a potential impact to that. My follow-up question to you, Mark, is having that we've just kind of, I'll say, fully, from my perspective, integrated MS365 now that we're completely on Teams and we've got all of our meetings going that way now. Christy's now using SharePoint instead of Dropbox for certain things, and it's great, you know. Whatever the products are, whatever the bidders are on this, I would encourage, or I would hope that they would be, whatever they are, would be fully integratable with our current platforms that we're using today and really for the foreseeable future. So
Yeah, I think any kind of hybrid solution would be, what's the word?
fully integrated.
Yeah, it would work for all the major platforms.
So, go ahead.
One question, one comment. One question is about what's the plan for the equipment that's here now that will be replaced? Is it going to be given away to a different part of the town?
So if there's any value, we would be obligated to, go to a secondary market or there are ways to, auction off this equipment or sell it, on the secondary market. So if there's any value, we're obligated to try and, get something for it. If they're not, and nobody could reuse them, then they're probably junk.
Thank you. And one comment is, speaking to the hybrid option, can we find out, or maybe you already know, whether this hybrid enhancement is something that could be added on in the future? If that's something, that maybe we don't need to do it today, but whatever system will be in place will be expandable in the future.
So I don't know the answer. My guess is probably, but I'm not sure if that changes, some of the base equipment or not. But I could find out.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's always a little bit of risk doing that, right? You could find out 3 years later that, you need a different piece of hardware now, or you need some new, service pack on the operating system that's going to cost you thousands of dollars, right? So there's always a trade-off. Great question.
So if this hybrid conversation as an alternate ends up popping up in town meeting with some of the voters, I mean, I think I would personally want to be able to vote on $150,000 package with an option to add a $50,000 hybrid option. And I want to vote on both of those things if that's possible. If you can get a breakdown of a deduct cost for taking out the hybrid system, but keeping the other components the same, as a voter, I would want to vote for it or not.
Sure. I think the charge of this committee is going to be very much to get this feedback, because eventually we're going to recommend the projects. So we will have a chance as a committee to vote up and down on the slate of projects we're going to recommend. Knowing that additional detail, I think that's the kind of thing that could come in once the town starts having conversations about it. But that really wouldn't be within the scope of this meeting here or this group here.
Well, what I'm proposing is that it would make sense to me if this was broken out as project part A and B, that were separate items.
Okay.
Right?
Thank you. I wasn't thinking that, so thank you.
Yeah, that's what I'm suggesting, that if the hybrid option is an enhancement that has a significant dollar value within the $200,000, and we can see that as a separate line item that we can vote on, that would make sense to me.
I don't know. I can I'm going to get a rough breakdown.
Yeah. I mean, it's
All
not,
estimates anyway. So.
it's not impossible to do it the way you're describing it. I think there's a couple pieces of information that we just don't have yet. So one is the hybrid enhancement, is the cost of that significant enough that it makes sense to sort of break it out that way? And then also understanding the hybrid enhancement to sort of to some of Andrew's questions, is it something that we think is really important to move forward with as part of the overall package? But I think these are good questions that help, and Mark will look into that and we'll bring it back.
Would it be helpful? Because as you were speaking there, I was thinking, well, what if other components, we've picked on hybrid, right? That hybrid component, but what if the ADA component was 20 percentile, so to your point, you're talking about percentages. Is there something that is a break point where we say, hey, if it's over this percentage, we would desire that it would be a separate add-on project A, B, C, D, right? Of it.
Yeah. I mean, I think that we want to, the department heads are bringing forward projects as a package. I think that it's a really good question. But if you're talking about $5,000 versus, I think that that's different. So
That's what I'm saying.
but I don't think that I think that related to ADA specifically, I don't think that I would not be interested in breaking that out. I think that that's an important piece of the AV package. But I understand your points about the hybrid. So I think we just need Mark to give us that information, and we'll have further conversation.
So I don't know, but my suspicion is that the ADA piece is not a significant portion of
I
that.
was just using it as an example, right? Because we're kind of opening up a little bit of Pandora's box here when we start breaking off one, right? And we don't have a number in front of us. We're speculating on that. And all I'm saying is, if this committee is interested in that type of process where you could say, hey, anything that's over 20% or 10% or whatever the desire is of the value of the total project that's being proposed, we would want to understand that as a break off so that we can make a decision as to whether or not we would support something that was all encompassing or whether or not we want those things broken apart.
Yeah, I mean, I think in general, though, the department heads are bringing forward what they think is meeting the capital need of the town. So if you look at DPW as an example, if he brings forward, I'm making this up, a snow plow, and you say, well, we don't really need that snow plow, like, tell us, we're going to vote on the actual plow attachment and the, whatever attachment, and this is, like, we don't want to do all of that. But I think your questions about the hybrid and whether or not that's necessity make a lot of sense, and we'll do that work.
Right, but our rating scale, our primary mandate is to maintain functionality, right, of existing infrastructure, right? So to that end, anything that's an enhancement that has a significant dollar value, we should understand what percentage of your project that enhancement accounts for.
Agreed.
Thank you, Mark. And here's hoping that the fire station is all of that smaller.
Yeah.
Any other questions for this one before we transition?
Before we transition, head out so that I don't interrupt his presentation.
Thank you.
Okay.
Joy. Cheers.
See you next meeting.
So the fire station's going to be a little less involved. All right, so the AV equipment for the fire station's a little bit older. That was that project finished up, I think, in 2014. So that's now 11 years old. Is also no longer supported. It's operating in a degraded condition. The audio doesn't work. Front screen is damaged, and the projector operation is intermittent. A lot of times they have to reboot the system, to get it to work. The recommendation from our AV service provider is to replace everything, including the speakers on this one. This room supports many meetings, events, and training. It also is used when it is converted to the town's emergency operations center. End of life, reasons to upgrade, end of life. Repairs are needed, and we can't fix it because replacement is the only option. And we would want to add in the required ADA assisted listening. Benefits, better AV experience, improved reliability, and then the mandated ADA. $75,000. Similarly, no ongoing support costs. So, questions?
Any questions? I think the only question I forgot to ask before that's also going to be relevant here is useful life.
So, from what we're hearing from our AV service provider is that this equipment is good for 10 years.
10 years. Okay.
And we're seeing that play out, and especially in this room and fire station, as it reached that 10-year threshold, we've had a lot of problems.
Okay. Thank you.
Do you have any knowledge of how often that room is being used?
I don't.
We can get more information, but I would guess it's used almost a daily basis. I know that there are committees that hold meetings there. The fire department does training. They do internal training. They also invite folks from other, communities, depending on what they're doing. So it does receive a fair amount of use, but we could get more detailed numbers on that.
Yeah, I'll make a note.
It is as we actually hold our Metro West Regional Emergency Communication Center dispatch meetings there. So we meet there every week, and it is in need of repair, definitely.
Yeah, no, it's in. Yeah, I've gotten a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
and my hands are tied. All I can do is say, oh, I can bring over a portable projector or, something that is makeshift.
If you upgraded this room, could any equipment from here go to that room?
I'd have to check. I would imagine potentially, but then you're taking 10-year-old equipment to replace 11-year-old equipment. You're not solving the problem. You're just moving it.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Mark. Really appreciate your time
Thank you.
dealing with the slings and arrows. All right, agenda. That was all we had for this. All right, looking for the agenda.
I believe the minutes from March were on there, but they weren't distributed, so we'll move that to the next meeting. And then again, the recreation department's not coming because their full group wasn't able to attend tonight. So they'll come to another meeting.
No one else is coming.
Okay, thanks.
It's about to go dark, everybody.
It has happened.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else on the agenda? I'm sorry, I seem to have lost the thread on the agenda.
I think it was just those three departments and then the overview, the election, the minutes, which are not ready, and that's it.
All right.
And just real quick, I just want to make sure I heard what you passed us. Were you using this? And we need to provide, once we have all the presentations on everything, we'll then assess these and put our feedback at that time, not for this group for next week, next group's for the following week. It's
all at once.
all at
Yeah.
once. Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
So I'll send out the links to the documents I referenced earlier. Also the criteria, and then we'll send out the minutes and the spreadsheet or form that you've used in the past. We'll provide that so that if you want to start inputting your ratings as you go, you can have that in front of you as well.
The hard part about this form, and we had this problem last year too, is that it doesn't promote innovation, right? I mean,
We talked about
yeah, we had a discussion last year about the 3D scanner for the for the police. I wonder, not for this year, but maybe in the future we can consider adding some additional rubric that would actually promote in some places, or at least add additional measurement of like how we improving the quality of service, not just maintaining the quality of service to the town.
I know that I haven't looked at this specifically in detail, but I know we had a different sort of tool that we used previously, so I can look at that and see if that had some ratings that might speak to what you're saying, and maybe we could add it. So I'll take a look at that before I send this back out.
Thank you.
Can I ask a general question?
Of course.
So I'm trying to remember, how much was the borrow in last year's budget?
For the capital plan.
Mm-hmm.
That borrow would have been, are you just talking about the borrow, or are you talking about all the monies?
Just the debt.
The new authorized debt.
Yeah. I guess I'm just looking to understand over the past 10 years, for example, or what have you, how much debt do we typically take on per year? Or is there not a typical?
I mean, it sort of depends. So last year, I don't remember if you received a presentation, but last year the town meeting was asked to approve the $12 million library as an example. I'm just looking to see if there's anything else. We did take on debt last year in our sewer enterprise fund, but in terms of, doesn't look like the capital plan included any other debt last year. So it was just the 12 million.
It was the 12 million?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you have any sense of a look back, or is that something, I'm sure that's something that you chart or you regularly reflect on.
Yeah.
Is that something you could share with this committee so we can understand whether we should be approving or, looking at $8.9 million debt as like a normal?
Yeah. So
thing for the
yes.
town?
So the short answer is yes. The longer answer is that that's something we've always paid attention to it. It's something we want to share or communicate better in that long-term plan. So not only will you see what we've spent in debt and, you know, where we think we're headed, but also why we're plugging in certain years where we are, because we might have debt falling off. So that is forthcoming. But yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? Then I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
We're all present, so all in
You want a
favor of
second?
adjourn? Oh, yeah, we need a second. Sorry.
I second.
You had it in your eyes. It was
I did. Yes.
all in favor of adjourning? All opposed? 6, nothing. 600.
Terrific.
With hybrid or without hybrid on the warrant?